Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumo and it's great to be back on the show again. Thank you for all of you that send us messages every week. We just love to read your messages and we try to respond as much as possible. If you're out there, you will have a message for us, whether it's an inquiry or a commendation or even a criticism. Please feel free to send us any of those messages through our social media platforms displayed on your screen. For many years, I've loved reading biographies, autobiographies, and memoirs, and I happen to have read hundreds and hundreds of them. I just enjoy reading them because they tell you how other people, particularly successful people, great people, how they navigated their lives, how they grew from nothingness or from being little to becoming great. Such stories simply inspire us. One of those books, an autobiography, was recently released, and it is the story of an outstanding gentleman whose beginning was very, very small, so to speak. It's a classical grass to grace success story. Let's get to meet with him and then enjoy the conversation.
Dr. Godwin Ehigiamosue is an entrepreneur, microfinance practitioner, investor, philanthropist, and writer. He is the founder of Lift Above Poverty organization Lapo Microfinance Bank, a leading non-profit pro-poor financial institution with operations in Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Godwin obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees from the University of Benin and obtained a doctorate degree from Ambrose Ali University. Ekpoma is an advocate for better life as he focuses on the upliftment of people and contributing to helping people transform. He is the author of the autobiography, Touching Lives, detailing his journey of vision, commitment, and service.
Great to have you on the show, Godwin.
Thank you so much. Really glad to be here.
You know, I prefer calling you Dr. Godwin, but you insist I should call you Godwin.
Well, yes, I always try to insist on a few things when it comes to my name, especially my surname, which you know that is quite long. So people just simply call me Godwin.
Great.
Yeah.
It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Your autobiography, Touching Lives, My Lapo Journey. Sure. You know, from a very young age, I fell in love with biographies and autobiographies.
Sure.
And I've read like hundreds. I just love autobiographies. And when I read yours, it was a bit scary because of the size. Yeah? Yeah. Normally, I can read books like this easily. But with the stack of work in front of me, by the time your book came in, I was like, ooh. But once you start reading your book, and this is not a cliche, it's really engaging. Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Really engaging.
Thank you.
Now, one of the first things that I said to myself I have to ask you is, did you document as your life, as the years passed by? Did you keep journals and diaries? Because the way, the details here, either you have an excellent memory or you had a way of documenting things over the years. How did you create this autobiography?
Yeah, thank you so much for that compliment when you talked about the details. I want to say that I really never kept diaries. But you know that as you take the journey of life, there are certain events that obviously will remain in your memory. And when you do a biography like this, you're not going to take everything. You're going to probably, pick on those outstanding events. And I did. So people who have also read it have made that comment. You have huge memory. Well, I will thank them for that. But basically, I was only just looking at highlighting incidences, events that, remain, that got stuck to my memory.
I think because my memory is not my own strongest trait, so that's why I admire a lot of what you write.
Yeah, exactly. Many people think that way. Some of them actually felt, how will you remember the names of your primary school teachers? Not just Mr. Osage, but you are saying Mr. Bernard Osage. and the names of your friends, and all that. But these people were special to me, and therefore they just
The name stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you have lived a remarkable life. You've been very successful business-wise, but your story is the classical grass to grace story. People talk about grass to grace.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is the classical grass to grace story. You started, I mean, your background
Yeah.
compared to where you are now, it's like an entirely different world.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I would need to make some clarifications. Ordinarily, people think that my engagement in poverty alleviation using credit as an instrument might have been because of my experience with poverty. And I always said no. And the book actually also contained a sort of evidence to show that that was not the case. Let me give you one specific example. In 1958, that was the year I was born. I was born in August, and my father completed a story building in May of the same year. And that was at a time in Benin, you are likely going to have story buildings no more than 20 in the entire Benin city. So in terms of going up, I really never really experienced, what you may consider as deprivation, beyond the general deprivation we have in our society. I think there are other things that influence that. I agree with you that it has been a very long journey. It has been a fruitful journey, and I took time to really document that journey.
Okay, great. So, I mean, it's interesting to me when I read the lives of people because, I'm very fascinated by the idea of we are experiencing things and probably there is a divine hand, behind things, the way things happen in our lives, and then all those things come together at one point or another. The chapter titled Stealing Years is my favorite chapter in your book because that is where from one job attempt to another, from one attempt to another to get a job, you experience failure. You didn't have a job for so many months.
Which was very unusual at that time.
You were, I mean, and then you will fast and pray and then go for the next one and then it's still a no or your name is missing or something like that. And when I read that, I said to myself that there's a lot of lesson to learn from this experience. What was going through your mind when you wrote that chapter?
Well, before I wrote that chapter, I brought that chapter in. It's something, when I had opportunity to discuss that period with people, the usual response would be, why not document this? And I said, okay, let me take it down to, let me put it as a chapter. Actually, interlude, between mine, growing up, happy guy, got to the university very early by that time standard, and then graduate very early 20s, and all that things were good. And suddenly you have that experience. So what was going through my mind at that time was that simply that period was actually stealing, S-T-E-E-L, steal.
Yes, steal.
It was like, this is a happy-going guy coming up. So for him to be able to embark on something that will be great much later, he needed a period, of preparation. So what was going through my mind then with all those series of, disappointments that you could not really explain, with any facts or with any thing, apart from the fact that it could have been divine guidance, divine intervention. So what was simply going through my mind was that it was a period of preparation. And and I took those things as they were happening. And of course, I got closer to God, closer in the sense that very early in my life, at the age of 4, my parents have actually introduced us to Christianity. So, but that period I got, much stronger, and eventually God intervened at the end. If you look at the chapter,
Is life about? Are we made by our experiences? Your story tells me that. And I think you deliberately wrote this book to teach that lesson.
Of course,
to convey that lesson.
Yes.
And I saw it in both little experiences and even big experiences. Little
Sure.
experiences like you wanted to go to a particular secondary school,
Yes.
but you ended up in another secondary
Yeah,
school. So
exactly.
I caught that. You were deliberate in pushing that
Yeah.
principle, right?
Yeah, beyond just a story of my life, it was a sort of a documentation of experiences that could be lessons, to people, especially the young people, persons, in the sense that there are things that will happen in your life. Those things may be very uncomfortable at a particular point in time, but in a way, they could eventually define, the path of your life, as it were. And so I decided to take time to be really, really very detailed in taking that across. And people who have read this book actually has, alluded to the fact that this is not just a story of your life. It is actually a compendium of lessons for people, especially the young people.
You see, when I read autobiographies, I mean, people know you with Lapo,
Yes.
microfinance and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
There are always the big things,
Yeah, of course.
the great things in books like this,
Yeah.
But I'm always looking at, those small, tiny bits of, issues, lessons. I find them very interesting. I'm captivated by them rather than the bigger ones, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, and there are many for me.
Yes.
While reading your book, one of them is the story of how a man called, you call him SOJ,
Yes. That's what you.
influenced your life.
Yes, he did.
I mean, so we see people who are successful and all that, but we need to learn who are those unknown people
Yeah.
that made an impact on their lives.
Yeah.
I find that story fascinating. How important was that in your life?
Two of them at the very early stage of my life, they were actually obviously teachers. Mr. Bernard Osage. Bernard Osage, in primary 5, he introduced us into reading newspapers. So the
Primary school,
primary school,
and you love reading
so
newspapers.
we were, put together, put some pens together, and then buy one copy of the Nigerian Observer on Wednesday. On Wednesday, in the sense because it is only a Wednesday edition that has children's page, and then we'll start reading. So by the time I got to primary 6, and then you have Mr. SOJ, Jeremiah, who was now my teacher, and he also liked reading the newspaper. So he would send me to go and buy newspaper. He would bring, he would read. After he has read, he will now give it to me. Obviously, I was the only student in the class that he would give the newspaper to.
You didn't mention that you wrote that he will send you with his bicycle.
Of course.
And you were the only one
I was
who
the
rode
only
his
one that
bicycle.
could write, yes, quite superb, ever new and ever clean. And when I got back, I give it, he will read, and then he will give it to me. There was one incident. In fact, I also put that in the. And as I was reading, I saw a picture of a police officer on the page. And under it, his name, they said police boss. So I never knew what boss means. So I went to Mr. SOJ, as they call him. And I said, sir, what is boss? Oh, he said, Godwin. Oh, boss is the head of somewhere. And so that was, for me, was very interesting. But I think the real lesson here is this. When people talk about how I got involved in poverty alleviation and a fact concern about ordinary people was because of my early introduction to reading newspaper. And that also introduced me to national issues and national personalities like Tai Sholare, whom I expressly stated in that book, was a very strong influence and inspiration for me.
For you, yeah.
So I started reading about all these things. And so by the time I got to university, I was sufficiently aware about the condition of ordinary people. And it was easy for me to belong to an association. And in fact, I led the association towards the end of my tenure at the University of Benin, organizing symposia and organizing seminars on how to improve the life of the ordinary people. And so the influence is the fact that I got early to know things about our national.
There was a classmate of yours.
Yes.
who dropped out of school
Yeah.
because her parents couldn't afford her fees or something. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Correct
yeah.
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That girl.
Yeah.
That also made an impact
Of course, sure.
on you.
Yeah, it did. There's a story. We were in primary 2, 3, and this lady was extremely good. Obviously, I was, struggling with for the top, class with her. And eventually, she couldn't go beyond primary school just because she lost her parents, especially her father. And so she, like I said in the book, she would have been, probably the best surgeon we have around, but it ended up being a ward orderly in the hospital. And her situation actually had a lot of, made a strong impression on my life. And it is for that reason, like I also expressed, that I easily get involved, supporting children who probably will be in the situation of this lady today.
Yeah.
And if you look at, my history in terms of where we have worked, scholarship that I've put in place, I think that singular incident influenced my commitment to education of ordinary people, young people.
Lapo, of course, I mean, this book is very much, did you feel that you found enough words to describe that story of a small seed, that became, the giant oak?
I think many people have actually described, such incident in a different manner. For me, there was nothing spectacular about it because I was involved. And so, but what I think was that by the time I left university, in terms of ideological clarity I have, that meaningful development must begin with the ordinary people, the large number of people at the base of the society. That was very clear for me. And so that was why I decided deliberately to go into the cooperative movement. And by the time I got frustrated in the cooperative movement, for a number of reasons that again, outlined in the book, I decided to think that there should be a non-governmental approach, if you like, a non-state approach, to addressing the challenges of the ordinary people. So I think the one that looks spectacular, most people think so, is the fact that I gave 100 naira each to 3 members in my church. Okay, the eldest was the wife of somebody in my church, another in my church, the other one, a wife of a driver, a very young lady, was so I want 100 naira. So every market day, which is for market day in Ogwashuku, now in Delta, they make repayment of 10 naira. So that was the beginning of life.
Wow. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to explore this as much as I would have loved to. But again, good thing, because we don't want to give everything away.
Of course.
People need to go and read it.
Yeah, let people go and read it. I think, like I said, truly, who is interested in just hearing your story? No. But I think what people are interested in, obviously, is what lessons that can come out from those narratives.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been great to have you on Channels Book Club.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
Up next, there's a new book in town, Lagos to London, fascinating work, and it was recently released at a very special place and a very special event. Enjoy this.
It is a cool evening as different artists showcase their talents at the residence of the British High Commission. Family, friends and business associates gather to witness the public presentation of this literary work by Lola Aworanti-Ekugo, a digital creator and writer. The chief host, British Deputy High Commissioner Ben Llewellyn Jones, in his welcome address, points out the relevance of the UK and Nigeria relations.
London and Lagos should be twinned. And it strikes me that's just self-evident. And anyone who's spent time in either city and knows the British and the Nigerian and the British and the connections between us would see why that would be the right thing to happen. Lagos to London speaks to really how that relationship can grow, how the human-to-human links that place Nigeria and the UK side by side don't disappear, they simply expand.
Keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of Nehemiah Youth Empowerment Initiative, Tonya Cole, recommends the book to all.
So this is a book that tells a story of each of us. It tells the story of you, tells the story of me, and it tells the story of so many people we know. But most importantly, it tells a story about how you must find your own way in life. Wherever you settle, whether it's here, whether it's there, whether you choose to jackpot or you choose to come back home, like some of us did. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, this book will give you direction to do that.
You were telling me about, I guess, your career path.
Panelists share some of their experiences relating to Lola's story in the book, Lagos to London.
I did the first degree in mechanical engineering. I want to be a mechanic. And that's a joke. Richard, you must be joking. So I told him I wanted to do automotive technology. He's like, that's just an interesting name. You're a mechanic. But that's what I wanted to do. And they went ahead to fill the form for the masters in the UK to study automotive engineering. But I'm like, no. I went ahead to do another one to Canada to study automotive technology. I'm still making mistakes, and I'm still finding my way as well.
They want Nigerians to see beauty in themselves.
Nigeria is just one beautiful country, but a lot of people are not telling these stories because the everyday hardships are staring us in the face, and people don't know any other reality apart from this. So they feel that you just have to go abroad to make it. But I would like to say otherwise. I think you can make it in Nigeria and make it big.
The chief host, the British Deputy High Commissioner, Ben Llewellyn-Jones, alongside the author and other guests, unveiled the new book.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we please put your hands together as the British? Thank you so much. Thank you.
The Managing Director, EcoBank Nigeria PLC, Patrick Akinwoton, commends the author and advises parents.
As parents, our job is to build up our children with strong values, right values, good education, but allow them to make their choices, allow them to become able to optimize their potentials.
Lola Aworanti-Ekugo, author of Lagos to London, tells us more about her book.
Lagos to London is about two young people who leave Nigeria with the hopes of a better future, greener pastures abroad. There are two key characters in there, Remi Koka and Nnamdi Okonkwo, who have come from different backgrounds. Nnamdi frustrated with Nigeria. Remi, her parents wanted her to go abroad to study, and so they sent her abroad. It's about following their path through their own journey to finding themselves, finding their destiny, finding their own path and making their own mark in the world. And I think one thing about the book that's really important is really that wherever you find yourself, whether it's here in Nigeria, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the US, wherever it is, you have a responsibility to be a Nigerian ambassador. You have a responsibility to promote good values, and with focus, resilience, and hard work, you will make it.
Kelechi Ekugo, husband of the author, wants the government to create a conducive environment for its people.
There's a lot we can do for Nigeria today. Nigeria is a 200 million population, which means that there's a strong human capacity content. There's a role to which government too can also do in creating that enabling environment, the right supporting infrastructure to harness that human capacity.
The book, Lagos to London, a Jakba story, is a tale of newfound freedom, self-discovery, hope, unexpected turns, lessons, and the realities of life in the United Kingdom.
No place like home, like Lagos to London tells us at the end of the day. No place like home, no matter how bad we say Nigeria is, how bad or how difficult it is to live here in our dear country, when you go out there, you will always be reminded of the fact that no place like home. I hope you've had a good time with us today. As always, we'll look forward to getting your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Aworanti-Ekugo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.